Have you ever stopped to wonder why the kindest people are often the ones who suffer the most? Why the most loyal get abandoned? Why those who sacrifice everything seem to always end up empty-handed, while the cold, the calculated, the ruthless seem to glide through life untouched? You've given your loyalty, you've given your time, you've poured out your truth, your energy, your soul, and still, you ended up betrayed, you ended up discarded, you ended up forgotten. And here's the question no one ever asked you. Why? Why does life seem designed so that the more genuine you are, the more you bleed? Let me tell you something you were never meant to know. It's not because you're not good enough. It's not because you don't deserve love, respect, or recognition. It's because you don't realize you're inside a game. And worse, you're the kind of player who doesn't even know the rules. This is not a motivational pep talk. This is not some polite philosophy lecture. This is a warning, a raw, brutal, bleeding truth you've ignored for too long. If you still cling to the fantasy that being a good person guarantees justice, stop right here. If you still believe life rewards loyalty, honesty, and sacrifice, stop right here. Because what I'm about to tell you will shatter everything you were taught about morality, fairness, and even yourself. Machiavelli never told you to be evil. He never told you to destroy others. But he did warn you. Stop being naive. Understand this. In this world, the survivor is not the kindest person. It is not the most generous person. It is not the one who works the hardest. The survivor is the one who knows when to stay silent, when to be cold, when to disappear without warning. The survivor is the one who knows the rules of the game, while the rest of the world is being played like pawns. Think back. How many times have you been betrayed by someone you trusted? A friend who walked away the moment you weren't useful anymore. A boss who discarded you after years of hard work, replacing you like you were nothing. A partner who drained your love, your effort, your loyalty, then left you shattered without explanation. And every time you thought, what's wrong with me? Wasn't I enough? You were enough, but you played the wrong game. You played with honesty in a world built on perception. You played with morality in a world built on strategy. You played with loyalty in a world built on leverage. No one told you this because the moment you wake up, you're no longer easy to control. And trust me, society runs on control. From childhood, you were programmed. You were told, work hard, keep your head down, obey the rules, be kind, be patient, and one day, you'll get your reward. But that reward never came, did it? Because the system isn't designed to reward you. It's designed to use you. Your loyalty became someone else's leverage. Your kindness became someone else's currency. Your silence became someone else's power. And when you broke, when you had nothing left to give, they simply replaced you. And you wonder why you're suffering. It's because you were never taught how the world really works. You were only taught how to behave, how to be obedient, how to stay small, how to hope that someone would notice your sacrifice. But no one prepared you for betrayal. No one prepared you for manipulation. No one prepared you for the silence that follows after you've given everything and received nothing. That is the real cost of not knowing the rules. Fairness, loyalty, morality. These are bedtime stories told to the obedient, comforting illusions designed to keep you working, sacrificing, bleeding, while someone else collects the reward. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. He didn't believe in fairness because fairness is not a principle of reality. The world doesn't reward good people. It rewards useful people. And usefulness is not measured in effort. It's measured in perception, in leverage, in control. If you are too kind without boundaries, they will drain you. If you are too loyal without leverage, they will use you. If you are too forgiving without consequence, they will forget you. And when you finally collapse, the world won't pause. It won't care. It will simply replace you. That is the brutal law of the game. But here's the good news. Once you see the game, you can learn how to play it. Not as a pawn, not as a victim, not as someone waiting for scraps of validation, but as something far more dangerous. A player who sees, a player who waits, a player who knows how to strike, not for revenge, but for balance. This is not a call to cruelty. This is not about becoming heartless. It is about becoming aware. Because your innocence, if left unchecked, will become your cage. Your softness, if not armored, will become your grave. This is the price of not knowing the rules. This is the cost of still believing the lie. And the moment you accept that your suffering wasn't a mistake, but the systematic result of being too good in a world that rewards strategy, everything changes. Because now you're no longer blind. You're awake. And when you stop playing by their rules, the real game begins. From the moment you were born, society began feeding you lies. They dressed them up in shiny words, coded them in morality, repeated them until you believed. They told you, be kind, be generous, be humble, be polite. If you just stay good, life will reward you. And like millions before you, you obeyed. You became the reliable one, the forgiving one, the one who sacrificed, who gave without asking, who kept the peace at the cost of your own silence. But here's the truth no one told you. Kindness, when unguarded, is not a virtue. It's a weapon. And the cruelest part? That weapon isn't pointed at others. It's pointed at you. They told you kindness was power. But in reality, kindness without clarity is a trap. They told you forgiveness was noble. But forgiveness without consequence is permission. They told you humility was beautiful. But humility without self-respect is self-erasure. And all the while you were giving and giving, society was quietly training you to stay weak. Because a population that's endlessly kind, endlessly forgiving, endlessly humble, is a population that never rebels, it never questions, it never resists. And that is exactly what those in power want. Think about it. How many times have you said yes when you wanted to say no, just to avoid conflict? How many times have you stayed silent while your boundaries were crossed because you didn't want to look mean? How many times have you forgiven someone, not because they deserved it, but because you were afraid of losing them? And what was the result? Did people respect you more? Or did they take you for granted? Because here's the brutal pattern of life. The more you give without limits, the less you are valued. Availability without boundaries becomes invisibility. Forgiveness without consequence becomes exploitation. Kindness without protection becomes slavery. You were trained to believe being liked was the same as being safe. It's not. Being liked doesn't protect you. Being liked doesn't make people loyal to you. Being liked doesn't stop them from betraying you the second they find a better deal. Because people don't treat you how you deserve. They treat you how you allow. And when you allow disrespect, you invite it. When you tolerate exploitation, you attract it. When you reward betrayal with second chances, you guarantee it will happen again. Machiavelli saw through this centuries ago. He knew society doesn't respect the kind. It respects the strategic, the one who knows when to be kind and when that kindness must end, the one who can forgive but never forget, the one who gives generously but never at the cost of their own power. This is what the world never taught you. That kindness is not weakness, but unguarded kindness is. So let's rewrite the rule. Real kindness has a spine. Real kindness protects itself first. Real kindness says, I will help you, but not at the cost of myself. There is no virtue in being exhausted. There is no nobility in being drained. There is no holiness in bleeding for those who wouldn't give you a drop in return. That is not goodness. That is self-betrayal, and self-betrayal is the silent disease of modern society. Do you see the game now? They told you, turn the other cheek. Why? So they could keep hitting you without resistance. They told you, sacrifice for others. Why? So they could profit from your suffering. They told you, don't be selfish. Why? Because if you valued yourself, you'd stop being so easy to use. It was never about morality, it was always about control. So what does real kindness look like? Real kindness doesn't beg for approval. Real kindness doesn't chase after validation. Real kindness doesn't set itself on fire just to keep others warm. Real kindness is strength under control. It is generosity with awareness. It is softness with armor. It is choosing when to give, how to give, and to whom you give. And that choice, that boundary, is where real power begins. So stop apologizing for saying no. Stop bleeding for those who never bled for you. Stop mistaking exhaustion for virtue. Because the truth is simple. The world does not respect endless kindness. It respects clarity. It respects boundaries. It respects strength. Machiavelli would tell you, be kind, yes, but be unpredictable. Be generous, yes, but be selective. Be forgiving, yes, but never forget. Be good, but never be easy. You've seen how society twists kindness into chains. But kindness is only the first lie. There's another layer, deeper, sharper, more dangerous. It's not about what you do, it's about what you feel. Because if they can read your emotions, they can control you. And in the next part, we're going to expose why emotions are the most powerful weapon ever used against you. Let me ask you something. When was the last time your emotions betrayed you? Maybe it was anger, boiling over in an argument, and the words you spoke burned a bridge you needed. Maybe it was love, blinding you so deeply that you ignored every red flag until it was too late. Maybe it was fear, paralyzing you in the very moment you should have acted with courage. And in that single instant, your emotions weren't just feelings. They were weapons. Weapons used against you. You see, the world doesn't care how smart you are, how hard you work, how talented you may be. If you can't master your emotions, you are a puppet waiting for someone else to pull the strings. Because the truth is brutal. Your emotions are the easiest part of you to exploit. Politicians know it. Marketers know it. Manipulators know it. They don't need to chain you with iron. They just need to chain you with feeling. Make you afraid, and they own your obedience. Make you angry, and they control your actions. Make you desperate for love, and they can betray you again and again, knowing you'll crawl back. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He wrote that a ruler must not be ruled by emotions, that love and fear are not just feelings. They are tools, levers of control. And here's the paradox that most people never see. The one who controls their emotions gains freedom. The one who cannot is already enslaved. Think about it. At work, if your boss knows you're afraid of losing your job, they don't need to pay you more. They just need to dangle the threat of firing you. In relationships, if someone knows you crave love, they don't need to treat you well. They just need to give you crumbs. Enough to keep you hungry. In society, if leaders know you're scared of chaos, they don't need to give you real solutions. They just need to promise safety. And so long as you remain emotional, you remain predictable. And predictability is weakness. So what does it mean to become emotionless? It doesn't mean becoming cold, robotic, or heartless. That's the lie. Becoming emotionless means becoming untouchable. It means feeling everything, but showing nothing until you decide. It means no one can push your buttons, because you've learned how to control the switch. It means you can walk into chaos with a calm face. You can face betrayal without breaking. You can take an insult without flinching. And suddenly you become dangerous. Why? Because the one who cannot be provoked cannot be controlled. Picture two men walking into a negotiation. One is hot-headed, passionate, eager. He talks too much. He reveals too much. He reacts to every word. The other, silent, calm, watching. His face reveals nothing. Which one do you fear more? Which one do you respect more? Exactly, because the emotionless one is unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. Here's the secret. Emotional mastery begins with pause. When you feel anger rising, pause. When you feel fear tightening your chest, pause. When you feel love blinding you, pause. That pause is everything, because in that pause you decide. You decide whether to reveal your feelings or to keep them as hidden weapons. The emotionless don't lack feelings. They weaponize them. They know when to show affection, when to show fury, when to show sadness. And because they control their display, their emotions become tools, not traps. But here's the trick society plays on you. They tell you, express yourself. Speak your truth. Let it all out. Sounds nice, doesn't it? But what happens when you always let it out? Everyone knows your weaknesses. Everyone knows your fears. Everyone knows how to manipulate you. They don't want you calm. They want you reactive. They want you predictable. Because a population that acts on impulse is a population that can be led anywhere. So stop handing your power away with every outburst, every fear, every desperate chase for love. The strongest men and women in history were not the loudest. They were not the most emotional. They were the calmest in the storm. They smiled when others panicked. They watched when others raged. They acted only when the timing was perfect, and that's why they won. Machiavelli would tell you this truth. If you want power, you must master silence. If you want freedom, you must master restraint. If you want respect, you must master emotion. Because when the world cannot read you, the world cannot control you. But emotions are only half the story. Because once you master your emotions, there's another battlefield waiting. It's not about what you feel, it's about what others see. The mask you wear, the image you project, the persona you build. And in the next part, we'll uncover why the world never rewards authenticity, only appearance. Because in this game of power, your mask matters more than your face. Tell me this. Do you think the world rewards truth? Do you believe that if you're real, authentic, your true self, you'll automatically win respect, love, and power? If you believe that, you've already been fooled. Because here's the brutal reality. The world doesn't reward truth. The world rewards perception. It doesn't matter who you are on the inside. It only matters who people think you are. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He wrote that a ruler does not need to be truly virtuous. He only needs to appear virtuous. Do you understand the weight of that? You don't need to be honest. You need to look honest. You don't need to be kind. You need to look kind. You don't even need to be fearless. You just need to project the image of fearlessness. Because perception shapes reality, and the mask you wear will always matter more than the face you hide beneath it. Think about social media. Do influencers show you their real lives? Number. They show you the mask, the curated highlights, the filtered perfection, the persona designed to make you envy them, admire them, trust them. And it works. Because people believe what they see. Or consider the workplace. Who gets promoted? The person who quietly works the hardest? Or the person who appears confident, who looks like a leader, who wears the mask of authority? The truth doesn't matter. The mask wins. Why is this? Because human beings don't see reality. We see symbols. We see signs. We see stories. Your brain doesn't process truth. It processes appearances. If someone looks powerful, you treat them as powerful. If someone looks successful, you assume they are. If someone looks trustworthy, you give them your trust. And here's the sinister twist. Most of the time, those appearances are carefully constructed masks. So here's the lesson. If you want influence, you must learn to wear masks, not lies. Masks. Because masks are not about deceiving maliciously. They're about understanding the reality of perception. For example, if you walk into a room looking uncertain, nervous, small, you'll be treated as weak even if you're brilliant. But if you walk in with calm confidence, if you wear the mask of certainty, people will assume you have value before you've even spoken a word. That's the power of masks. Julius Caesar didn't conquer Rome by being just himself. He wore the mask of the fearless general. The people didn't know his doubts. They only saw the image of strength. Cleopatra didn't rule Egypt by relying on her authentic flaws. She crafted a mask of divinity, appearing as a goddess, commanding devotion from men who thought they were serving the divine. Even in modern times, the billionaire doesn't show you their failures, their bankruptcies, their sleepless nights. They show you the yachts, the tailored suits, the curated image of success. And because people believe the mask becomes reality. Now ask yourself, what mask are you wearing? Do you wear the mask of strength or the mask of insecurity? Do you wear the mask of confidence or the mask of fear? Because whether you realize it or not, you are always wearing one. The question is, did you choose it consciously? Or did someone else force it on you? Here's the cruel truth. Society tells you to just be yourself, but at the same time, it punishes you for showing your true self. You're told to be honest. Yet if you reveal too much, people use it against you. You're told to be authentic, but employers hire based on presentation, not authenticity. You're told to be vulnerable, but in reality, the world respects strength, not weakness. So understand this. The mask isn't optional, it's survival. The weak wear masks unconsciously and suffer because they don't control them. The strong wear masks intentionally and rise because they shape perception. Machiavelli would remind you, it is not enough to be powerful. You must look powerful. It is not enough to be good. You must appear good. It is not enough to be fearless. You must project fearlessness. Because people don't follow truth. They follow perception. And if you can shape perception, you can shape reality. But here's the catch. Wearing a mask isn't just about protecting yourself. It's also about controlling others. Because once you master masks, you can manipulate the perceptions of everyone around you. And in the next part, we'll uncover how those in power use illusions, symbols, and appearances to keep entire nations under control without ever lifting a sword. Because sometimes a mask is sharper than a blade. Look around you. Do you see chains? Do you see shackles on people's wrists? Do you see whips cracking in the streets? Number. And yet, people are enslaved more efficiently today than at any point in history, because modern power doesn't need iron chains. It doesn't need visible prisons. It doesn't need armies marching through your streets. It only needs illusions. Machiavelli wrote that a ruler must learn how to control appearances, because people are more easily guided by illusions than by reality. And what is the world today, if not one giant theater of illusions? Illusions of freedom, illusions of choice, illusions of opportunity. You're told you're free to do what you want, but try going against the system and watch how quickly that freedom disappears. You're told you can become anything. But the truth, the majority will never escape the invisible walls built around them. This is not freedom. This is control disguised as freedom. This is slavery wrapped in illusions. Think about your job. You believe you're free because you chose it, but did you really? Or were you conditioned from childhood to obey, to follow rules, to fear failure, to stay inside the box society built for you? You're told to study hard, get a degree, get a job, work until you're 65, then maybe enjoy the scraps of life that remain. That's not freedom. That's a treadmill where you run endlessly, thinking you're moving forward, when in reality you're staying exactly where the system wants you to be. Even money, the ultimate illusion. They tell you, if you just work hard, you'll be rich. You'll make it, but look closer. Hard work doesn't guarantee wealth, it guarantees exhaustion. The real wealth flows upward, to those who control the game, to those who built the system of illusions. The rich don't trade time for money. They trade illusions for power. They create markets, currencies, trends, brands, stories, illusions that you believe in, illusions that make you spend, illusions that keep you dependent. And all the while, they grow stronger, while you grow weaker. But here's the darkest part. You don't even resist, because you believe in the illusions. You believe in the system. You believe in the ladder. You believe in the promises. And when you believe, you obey willingly. You walk into your own cage. You lock the door behind you. You even decorate the walls thinking it's home. This is the genius of modern power. They don't force you. They trick you into forcing yourself. In ancient times, rulers used armies to keep people in line. They built walls, they raised swords, they ruled with visible violence. But Machiavelli warned rulers, fear works, but illusions work better. Because if people think they are free, they won't rebel. If they believe the ruler is just, they won't resist. And today, governments, corporations, and elites use the exact same principle, but perfected with technology, with media, with algorithms that shape what you see, what you think, what you believe. This is power without chains. This is slavery without whips. This is control through illusion. So let me ask you, what illusions are you living under right now? Do you believe in the illusion of job security, the illusion of a fair system, the illusion that hard work pays off? Or maybe you're trapped in the illusion of choice, thinking you're free because you can pick between brands, between candidates, between lifestyles. not realizing all those options were designed by the same hands. Think carefully, because the moment you break free from illusion, you become dangerous. So how do you escape this invisible slavery? You learn to see the masks. You learn to see the games. You learn to separate appearances from reality. Ask yourself, who benefits from me believing this? Every time you see a story, a rule, a system, ask that question. Because once you see the hidden hand, once you recognize the illusions for what they are, you cannot be controlled the same way again. And that is the first step toward true freedom. But escaping illusions isn't enough. Because while the masses are trapped in cages made of lies, the powerful aren't just surviving, they're thriving. They use illusions not only to control people, but to elevate themselves to godlike status. How? Through a weapon more subtle than fear, more powerful than money, and more addictive than any drug ever created. And in the next part, we will uncover that weapon. A weapon rulers, billionaires, and manipulators have always used and still use today to keep humanity under their spell. Get ready, because once you see this weapon, you'll understand why the world looks the way it does and why most people will never escape it. We've uncovered illusions. We've exposed the treadmill of work, the false promises of freedom, the invisible cages built by the powerful. But now, we arrive at the ultimate weapon, the weapon that kings, emperors, and billionaires have always used. The weapon that doesn't just control your actions, it controls your mind, your beliefs, your very identity. And that weapon is narrative. Narrative is the most powerful force in human history. Armies rise and fall because of it. Religions spread across continents because of it. Nations are born and destroyed because of it. Narrative is not truth. Narrative is not reality. Narrative is story. And story is what people believe. And what people believe becomes their reality. Why do you go to work? Because of a story. The story that if you work hard, you'll be rewarded. Why do you obey laws? Because of a story. The story that authority is legitimate and disobedience is dangerous. Why do you value money? Because of a story. The story that those green papers or digital numbers hold power. These things aren't real in themselves. They're stories, shared illusions, narratives powerful enough to shape billions of lives. The rulers of the past knew this. Pharaohs declared themselves gods. Emperors demanded worship. Kings claimed divine right. And the people believed the story, so they obeyed. Today, rulers don't need to call themselves gods. Instead, they control narrative through media, through education, through entertainment, through algorithms that decide what you see, what you read, what you think is normal. They don't need to beat you with whips. They just feed you stories. Stories you repeat, stories you defend, stories you even fight and die for. This is the final weapon of power. Control the story, and you control the world. Think about it. The narrative of success. It tells you success means wealth, status, material things. So you spend your life chasing them, while never questioning who defines success in the first place. The narrative of freedom. It tells you you're free because you can vote, because you can shop, because you can choose between options carefully crafted for you. The narrative of hard work. It tells you hard work is virtue, but in reality, it keeps you chained to systems where your sweat builds another man's empire. Do you see it? Narrative is the cage. Narrative is the leash. Narrative is the invisible weapon that makes you obey without realizing you're obeying. And here's the truth that most will never accept. If you want to escape, you cannot just work harder. You cannot just play by the rules. You must rewrite the story, because the person who controls the story controls reality. That's why Machiavelli wrote that appearances, myths, and perceptions matter more than truth. Truth is fragile. Narrative is eternal. The masses don't follow reality, they follow story. And so long as you live inside someone else's story, you will remain their slave. So what can you do? First, see the stories. Name them. Call them out. Don't just accept the narrative society feeds you. Ask, who benefits from me believing this? Second, Learn to craft your own story, not the one given to you, not the one sold to you, but the one you consciously choose. Because once you control your own narrative, you become immune to theirs. You no longer march to their drum. You no longer bow to their myths. You walk your own path. Think about this. Slavery was once chains on the body. Now it is chains on the mind. Freedom is no longer just about breaking walls. It's about breaking illusions, breaking stories, breaking the invisible weapon of narrative. And once you do, you don't just escape. You rise. You see reality for what it is. You see power for what it is. And you finally take back the only thing that was ever truly yours: your mind, your will, your story. So ask yourself right now, whose story are you living? Is it yours? Or is it the one designed to keep you obedient? Because the moment you choose your own story, you stop being their slave and you start becoming free.